This is the sound of your ride home with Dad after he caught you vaping. Awkward, isn't it? Most vapes contain seriously addictive levels of nicotine and disappointment. Know the real cost of vapes. Brought to you by the FDA.
Ryan Reynolds here for, I guess, my 100th Mint commercial. No, don't. I mean, honestly, when I started this, I thought I only have to do like 4 of these. I mean, it's unlimited premium wireless for $15 a month. How are there still people paying 2 or 3 times that much? I'm sorry, I shouldn't be victim blaming here. Give it a try at mintmobile.com/save. Whenever you're ready.
$45 upfront payment equivalent to $15 per month. New customers on first 3-month plan only. Taxes and fees extra. Speed slower above 40 gigabytes. See details.
Okay, everybody, welcome to the latest episode of All2ReelToo. My name is Michael E. Cullen II, and with me, as always, is...
Sesame sexual assault is bad in card up.
I agree with you that it is. I don't know if that's a good name or not, but, you know...
Maybe not. Maybe for, like, Halloween or something.
I mean, I guess, it could be good to, have, definitive statements as your name. Like, it's like Michael Free Palestine
right.
Cullen II, something like that.
Well, you could have it be like there was this guy once that came to our high school to do, one of those, pep rally speeches type of thing, but it, really wasn't a pep rally.
Yeah.
And he had a bunch of tattoos, and the reason why he did that was because he wanted to make a statement about how you shouldn't judge people by how they look or something. So he was this totally normal dude who just decided to get tattoos all over his body to prove some point. I'm okay, that's interesting, I guess.
That's taking it a little far, in my opinion. I mean, if he wants the tattoos, cool, that's all right. But if that was his reasoning for it,
what's that?
But if that's his reasoning for it, just to prove that, people with tattoos are just like everybody else, it just seems like a little far to go. It's I don't even like tattoos, but I decided I'm going to get tattoos all over myself because I want to prove that tattooed people are normal. But
yeah, I don't think he had anything on his face, thank God.
Yeah.
I think, maybe his art. This is back early 2000s, okay, 2002. So back then, it was, you still had people with tattoos. It wasn't like it was some completely fringe thing, but it was still sort of on the edges
as now,
bit.
Yeah.
But I do think he had a lot of his arm, one of his arms is completely tattooed, and I was just this is so bizarre that you bring this guy over here to do this speech. That was a weird. I swear to God, my high school was so fucked up because we had another guy. I think it was maybe the same. No, I think it was a year either before or after that guy, where he was paralyzed, and the reason why is because he was a star athlete and he had his whole life ahead of him. He had all these scholarships, but he decided to drink on his prom night, and he drove home. You can only see what might happen, where the story is heading, right? And then he got into a car crash, a really bad one, and then he became paralyzed.
Yeah.
And so now he goes through the whole school system giving these wild speeches.
We had stuff like that too when I went to school, and I mean, sometimes those people ended up being fakes.
Well, that's the thing. That's what I was thinking of. How would they vet these people, especially back then?
We had a guy come in one time in chains and in an orange jumpsuit, and supposedly from a prison to talk to us. And this was at a Catholic high school. And
oh my God, it's totally fake.
like in the middle of our gym, and it's just like, what the hell? And I mean, I don't know. He might have been real, he might not have been, but it was just so like talking about, you know, why you shouldn't join gangs and all this other stuff, you know, to a mostly, you know, at the time, white high school of people that can afford to go to private school, and it's just like.
Right, it's like one of these like really top-notch school. Yeah, we had like 3 dudes that now that I'm remembering. Now I'm like going down memory lane here. There was like 3 guys they brought in like a 2-year time span. Like, what were they afraid of at our school that we were all like gonna like start doing drugs and like tattooing ourselves all over the place? And
they would do a lot of this stuff. Like they would do plays. Like they'd have like a bunch of like teen actors from around town come in and be like, hey, you know, they go up on stage and they'd pretend they're in a car, and it's like, oh no, we're gonna get hit because Jimmy's driving drunk, you know, whatever. Right. It's like,
and then of course did it happen? So like, oh, who could have thought, or whatever. Yeah, the third guy they brought in, I think it was the same year that they brought in the athlete / driver guy, and he did his entire. This time it was in the auditorium. It wasn't in the gym. And the whole presentation was about the effects of ecstasy, like that specific drug. I don't know why he didn't mention anything else. And it was like, this is what ecstasy does to your brain, and it shows like all these holes in the brain. It's like, you don't want to be like that, do you? And it's like, of course, like 10 years later, they start like doing experiments on like soldiers with PTSD to help them get over all of their anxiety and stuff. Like, oh, interesting that, you know, now that, you know, but whatever. But now before you were saying how horrible it was, but now, you know, it's actually curing soldiers of their PTSD to the point where they only have to come in like once every 6 months for a session. So let me think about this. I take medication every single day versus taking medication once every 6 months.
I mean, that's the thing with medications and stuff. Sometimes medications are like, they start out as a drug that people take recreationally, but then there's also times where something started out as like heroin, or something starts out as a drug to treat people, and then all of a sudden it becomes like the worst epidemic in the world, you know, and you're just like,
true. Bayer's actually the one who invented heroin. Anyway, feel free to edit some of the stuff out because we're already 6 minutes into the.
We're good here. But speaking of high school,
let's do timestamps so that people can like go when they like. You know what I mean? Like, okay, at 6:37, like
we banter. So anyway, speaking of you know, teenagers and high school and all that stuff. Today on the show, we are covering a, you know, Halloween adjacent film, you know, something in the realm of that, entitled Teen Witch, which, no pun intended, is a 1989 film, which was PG-13. Just wanted to point that out. Directed by Dorian Walker, written by Robyn Menken and Vernon Zimmerman. The film starred Robyn Lively, yes, Blake Lively's half-sister, Ryan Reynolds' sister-in-law. Not that matters. I just felt like pointing that in. Also known from Karate Kid 3, among a bunch of other things, and also known as being one of my crushes when I was a kid. I always bring this up whenever I have one of these. So we've got Dan Gauthier, people would know from One Life to Live. He's been in a bunch of other things, but that was his most prominent thing. He was one of the several actors to play Kevin Buchanan on that show. I think they had like 12 actors play that character over the years, but he's probably actually the most well known. So we have Joshua John Miller as Richie Miller. First Robyn Lively is Louise Miller, our main character, and then Dan is Brad Powell, and then Joshua is Richie Miller, the younger brother to Louise. We have Caren Kaye as Margaret Miller, her mother. We have Dick Sargent, known from Bewitched, which is probably why they cast him, as Frank Miller, her dad. Yeah, so he was one of the Darrens on Bewitched. I think the second one, I want to say. Anyway, so yeah. We've got Lisa Fuller as Randa, Mandy Ingber as Polly, Zelda Zelda Rubinstein as Madame Serena. Got Noah Blake as Rhet. And then there's a bunch of other people, including Marcia Wallace as Miss Malloy. Shelley Berman, the really famous stand-up comic, is Mr. Weaver. And, that's what we got here. The Internet Movie Database says that this is the plot. High school misfit Louise, at a loss for romance, discovers magical abilities, but the teenage witch finds that she cannot conjure herself true love. So what? I don't get this.
It's a very slim version of what happens in the movie.
The literal summary ends in a question.
It
says, the teenage witch finds that she cannot conjure herself true love, comma, so what? Question mark.
I don't know what that. I don't even know what they're trying to say with that. I don't know, because that could go one of two ways. I say so what, like as in who cares, or it's like so what happens now, like.
And the whole description is like one run-on sentence. So it's like,
it's not a great summary.
We do have we could find another, like, there's probably plot here.
You could probably find a better one on Wikipedia.
Yeah, I'm sure. Here's another one of the synopsises here on there. It's like, Louise is not very popular at her school. Then she learns that she's descended from the witches of Salem and has inherited their powers. At first, she uses them to get back at the girls and teachers who teased her and to win the heart of a handsome footballer's captain. This is probably written by a British person because the way it's like, anyways. Yeah. But soon she has doubts if it's right to cheat her way to popularity. That's a little better.
It is. Yeah. It's at least gives you an idea of what's going on, I guess.
Yeah. Well, this was written by somebody from somebody in Europe, I think is what it was written. Anyways, so initial thoughts here, Sesame, on Teen Witch.
I really liked it. I think I'm actually going to probably watch it again tonight, maybe, because it's just really fun. A fun movie. I heard that it only grossed like $5,000 in its opening weekend.
It was
or something like that.
I don't know about its opening weekend, but the budget for the movie was $2.5 million.
Oh, okay.
And the box office total was $27,843.
Oh,
yeah. It really was a box office bomb. It's now a cult favorite though, so
but how it was a good movie.
It came out the same week as a bunch of other movies.
Okay.
It was like trying to remember, but there was like a bunch of like the top movies of that year all came out that weekend. So
I see. But still, you got to think of how many millions of people in the world are going to be movies. And each ticket cost back then like at least $5. So it's like, how would it only grow? I can't even imagine. That would be like, what, 1,000 people in the world went to see the movie? That just seems very, I don't know.
Well, I mean, I don't know if they cost $5, then it might have even been cheaper, but I don't know.
Well, true, but still, like, that would mean then that only, 24,000 people, again, in the entire world went to see this movie? I don't know. That just seems, I don't know how they did that, but maybe they only showed it in a few theaters.
Yeah, I mean, it might not have had a wide opening. I was trying to find that. I read somewhere about the movies that opened, but I can't find what they were right now. I lost that page. But yeah, it was basically just, up against a lot of good movies that weekend. So
it was interesting because Karate Kid 3 came out in 1989, so it could have been in the same time when another movie she was in.
And Zelda Rubinstein, who plays Madame Serena, was in the Poltergeist movies and all of them. And she was pretty popular. She was a pretty popular actress at that point. So, it's kind of hard to understand, Yeah. Anyways, I like this movie. I watched it a bunch as a kid. So, it's been years since I've seen it though. So, yeah. But they used to air it like on some cable channels once in a while. And I mean, eventually it became part of the 31 days of Halloween or whatever on what was ABC Family and now Freeform. And I think they still show it. They still show it every year. So, yeah.
Okay, cool.
So yeah, that's kind of where it got. I always found it interesting. I always found the little brother kind of creepy. And
I know.
No offense, no offense to the actor. Because he's actually a well-known writer and stuff now. So
That's cool.
Yeah, he actually just wrote the 2024 movie The Exorcism starring Russell Crowe.
Really?
So yeah. But yeah, so yeah, what goes down in this movie?
Well, our girl Louise, played by Robyn Lively. I don't know why the thing called her a misfit. That doesn't seem like a good description of her, but I don't know. And she's like an honor student. She's very smart. She's got a best friend named
Holly.
What's her name? Holly. They're quite quote unquote kind of like nerds, but like they're more of like on the periphery of nerddom, where they're like the cool version of the nerds. Like they're kind of up on the hierarchy of the nerddom, basically.
Yes.
So they're not quite the cool kids, but they're also not quite full on nerd. They're kind of in this sort of purgatory type state. And so it's basically they got a she's all that type of thing going on in the movie where she dresses conservatively, and that's apparently bad, I guess, for a girl who's 15 years old in the movie. Character 15.
She was 17 at the time of filming. Okay. And the actor playing Brad was 25.
Oh, okay. That's
so it makes some things very creepy.
Yeah, I was gonna say there. Okay, never mind. It's interesting stuff there. So the whole movie actually begins with this long, like I was almost thinking we were gonna have a chick boxer situation here, where like it's like 5 minutes of just nothing happening. But no, this one actually had like an elaborate dream state where she foreshadowing, because she's using enchantment and magic to allure Brad, who's the guy that she has a crush on. Ooh, I wonder why she thinks she's a witch in this dream. Oh no, what's gonna happen? But like anyway, like she's like, dressed pretty provocatively in this dream sequence thing, and they're kind of getting hot and heavy a little bit, and then later on, like I learned in the movie that her 16th birthday is coming up, as in not there yet. And her character is 15, and not like quote unquote slut shaming, but she was dressed pretty. I didn't say like it was,
well, like all the girls in this movie at one point or another are dressed kind of like provocatively for the time. Yeah.
And so, once I figured that out, because I didn't know, anything like, but then like when they, they talked about in the movie, because like the whole point in the movie is that once she turned 16, all of her magic witch powers have just come in for some reason. I don't know. They didn't really never explained that. Also, too, they didn't really explain where does she get her witch? Does she get it from her mother's side or from her father's side of the family? Never explained that either. So.
Yeah, I mean, and also it's very similar to in the comic books and in the TV series is that's the same age that Sabrina gets her powers in Sabrina the Teenage Witch and whatnot. So
okay, maybe it's just like a common thing that they do or something.
I guess
it makes sense though, because like that's like when you get your driver's license, and so like 16 is sort of like seen as like this age where you're sort of like becoming an adult, but you're not quite there yet. Like I said, you can get your license.
It's in my opinion like a better age than like when you are confirmed in Catholicism or you have your bar mitzvah in Judaism, because those are usually like when you're like 12 or 13 or something, and it's just like
it's just like, how would you even have any life experience?
Yeah.
I don't know, but it was creepy because like I'm sitting there thinking okay, it's a high school movie, I get it. But I'm sitting there thinking, maybe she's a senior in high school, but then it's like, oh no, she skipped a grade. She's actually technically supposed to be a junior, or I don't even know what. And I'm like, oh my god, guys, the '80s were weird, man. They were weird.
Well, I mean, this is the
I don't
decade.
want to get too fixated on that part, but there is a scene later on where it does become very problematic.
I mean, this is the decade of like Revenge of the Nerds being a huge movie where the lead character rapes his future wife.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, so
that's right. He tricked her into thinking there was like a nuclear blast going on or something like that.
He was wearing I think a Darth Vader helmet.
Oh, right.
If I remember correctly, and she thought he was somebody else, and he has sex with her.
That is. Oh my fucking. No, I was thinking of freaking. It was what was it? Grease 2. Where the guy tricks the girl into thinking that like a nuclear bomb is going off, and that's like the only chance they're gonna have. I think that was what that. Maybe it was a different. I was one of those.
Yeah, I don't remember that one, but yeah, it was probably some teen movie. Yeah, it's like that's just the '80s was weird.
Well, I'm saying this was normal shit for the '80s, but now looking back on it, I'm just like man, like I don't know, and but it does kind of make sense. Now I'm seeing things differently now a little bit because I've been watching the Karate Kid saga lately because of Cobra Kai started up again, and they're gonna release part 2 of season 6 in November. Yeah. So I've been kind of going through the trilogy of the movies, and then I got to Karate Kid 3 recently, and she's in that. But in that movie, she's like very conservative. Like they have this role where she's like basically telling Daniel, like, yeah, like I'm just letting you know, like we're not gonna be like boyfriend and girlfriend and stuff like that. So I wonder if it was like a response to this movie where it's like they made her do all this other stuff. You know,
who knows? I mean, it probably just the roles that she was able to get at the time were kind of
maybe
yeah.
But in this role, she was actually had a much more of a role than her Karate Kid 3 role. Was kind of dim in my opinion. There wasn't really much to it. Not her fault. It's just that's what they wrote her as, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But she also was in one episode of season 5 of Cobra Kai. They bring her back a little bit to talk about. I know it's so dumb. I know, but
in Karate Kid 3, because it's been years since I've seen it, was she the love interest for Daniel?
Well, that's the thing. She pretty much like right up front was basically like, hey, bro, like I'm just letting you know, like we're not gonna make out or anything. Like,
okay.
Like I just want to be friends. That's it. And he's like, oh
they don't have any kind of romance or anything in there then.
Literally right from the get go, she's like, boom, like okay.
Oh, I got
I'm
that.
just letting you know. What's that? Yeah.
Okay.
And he's like, oh yeah, that actually makes sense. I really want that. It's like you really want to only be friends when you're clearly trying to hit on her. Oh, sure, Daniel.
It's still kind of creepy because of how old Ralph Macchio is compared to other actors at that time.
But he looks like he's like 80 years younger than what he is.
Yeah,
so
I know.
It's like,
but it's just still weird.
Like him.
Yeah.
The dude, okay, the guy. So speaking of, I know we're not even talking about this movie. Sorry. So speaking of Karate Kid 3, right? So in that movie, his mentor is Terry Silver. He tries to get in between him and Mr. Miyagi, and he starts teaching him, quote unquote, his version of Cobra Kai, which is not the bad Cobra Kai because the John Kreese guy died, and he is better Cobra Kai. But he's really doing it because he wants to teach Daniel all the wrong lessons of karate. And so when he has to fight his real opponent, he's going to fuck up because he doesn't know what he's doing. But the thing is that Ralph Macchio is like 2 years older than that guy. And that guy looks like at a minimum 10 years older than Ralph Macchio. And especially in Cobra Kai, because the character, what's his name? Ian something? The guy who plays Terry Silver. Great actor. He comes back into season 4 and season 5, and understandably, he looks like an older man. He's got gray hair,
Mm-hmm.
Daniel, but Ralph Macchio is older than this dude.
That's funny. Yeah,
he's got the Fountain of Youth, just like him and Paul Rudd. I think they're both hoarding the Fountain of Youth. They're like they trade it with each other here and there.
It's always so weird when it's so weird when things like that happen where somebody's older than somebody but playing somebody younger. And I still remember that there was a actor at one point who played Edward Quartermain on General Hospital. I know this is off topic, but he was a year younger than the guy that played his son.
Wow, that's hilarious.
Anyways,
yes, sir.
So back to Teen Witch here. So basically, what's going on here is that, she's longing to be, she has this like dream sequence at the beginning. And, so she's like, this not popular girl. She has like, some issues where, she's made fun of by her teacher by Mr. Weaver in her English class. Of all things, that was really like I wanted to punch that guy.
I know the guy was a piece of shit.
So she's got that, because she had like her diary stuck to her assignment, and he like reads it out loud in class because he probably wasn't laid in high school and he needed to. Anyway, so I don't
he's just taking it out on her.
So she auditions for a school play, and then she's like bicycling home that night. She doesn't get the part in the play, the lead, but Brad gets the lead, of course. And so, but Brad is then, driving, Louise is driving home on her bicycle, and Brad comes by in his car with his girlfriend, Randa, and then basically she's like messing with him, and she causes him to like swerve and almost hit Louise on her bike, and then it like makes her fall into the like brush on the side of the road. Anyways, on her way home, then she he offered to take her home. He was nice. But she says no because she has her pride and everything. On the way home, she ends up entering the home of this Madame Serena, who is a seer and like can read palms and whatnot. She convinces her to give her last $6. To read her palm, and she was just thinking she was a mark, and she then realizes that Louise is actually a witch, like reincarnated or something, and is going to develop her witchy powers on her 16th birthday. And her birthday is like a week later or something. On her birthday, like nobody shows up at her birthday party because Randa has a party the same night.
Which, that one I didn't understand. So it's like the kind of friends that Louise had wouldn't be the same friends that Randa had.
They're not hanging out in the same circles here. It's like
I did not get that. I was like, okay.
There were plenty of times when I was in high school where two different people had parties at the same night, and it didn't really matter.
That was just that was a weird plot point. I didn't get. But
I mean, if it was something like in Mean Girls 2, where the girls like are living right across the street from each other and trying to steal people for their parties, that's different. But that makes sense. But
no, sadly, this was not Mean Girls 2. Well, kind of a little bit, because Louise kind of lives in a very well-to-do neighborhood.
Yeah.
And she lives right across the street from Randa, which is Brad's girlfriend. And so, I guess maybe it's a little bit similar, but not by much.
Yeah. Anyways, basically, so nobody went to her party, so she's like, bummed about that. And so the next day at school, she has this like really close relationship with this like theater teacher or something. I don't even know what her deal is that Marcia Wallace plays, named Miss Malloy. And so she gives her like this costume necklace with an amulet that she finds among the costumes. And then
somehow this shows up.
Tells her to, she gives it to her and says, this is gonna, give you some luck and whatnot.
Ooh,
luck of the Irish.
Luck, okay.
Anyway, so so she wears it, and Louise is like automatically feeling different,
right? Because she just put on her lucky amulet that her acting teacher found at the wardrobe area of the high school.
Didn't that happen? Didn't that happen for you when you were in high school?
Well, I only took drama once, and so I didn't have time to find any amulets, unfortunately.
Me either. I mean, I had to dress up like a Puritan and be in the Crucible. Speaking of the Salem witches.
Yeah, totally. Didn't you tell me though recently? Was it you or was it something else that there actually were no witch burnings in the Salem?
No, there's no burnings. They killed them, but different ways. There was just they weren't burned at the stake. It was like the burning of the people at the stake, because we talked about this in our previous episode. The Daughters of Satan. Because they didn't burn them at the stake in the United States. There's no instance of that ever happening, on record at least. But in Europe, in like Spain and parts of Great Britain and stuff, they did burn suspected witches at the stake. So
Jesus Christ. That's just so.
I mean, they in during the Salem witch trials, the worst thing that they did to a suspected witch or whatever it was, this guy Giles Corey. He was a really old man. And they did this thing called a pressing, where they put a board on him and then just kept putting heavier and heavier rocks on top of the board.
Oh, I have heard of that type of thing. Yeah, that's crazy.
Until he basically died. But he would not say anything. He was like standing up for his principles because he wasn't a witch or anything, and obviously he just wouldn't say that he was. They were trying to get him to confess, basically.
Well, even if they did, they would still kill him anyway. So it's like,
yeah, probably.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's not like, whatever.
Yeah, no,
but,
I mean, look into the history of the Salem witch trials. They were one of the horrible instances in our country that was, you know, and the reason that the Crucible was written at the time was like as an allegory to the McCarthy trials, you know. So yeah, it was an allegory to McCarthyism. That's why. Yeah, that's why Arthur Miller wrote it. Yeah, so because basically those were witch trials too.
Well, yeah, in a sense, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, anyways, speaking of this movie,
no, we're going off track so many times.
The only reason I was bringing up the Salem witch trial things is because she knows she's a reincarnation of the one of them, and I can't remember what name it had in this book that they showed later, but her name,
I don't remember either.
Her name was actually one of the accused witches. I'm pretty sure.
Is that what it was?
Yeah.
Well, okay, that's kind of weird though, because this movie is so like lighthearted and fun. Yeah. And then they're like, by the way, you're descendant of this witch that they murdered. It's just like,
yeah, it's like, but it's like, I mean, it doesn't make and this was just like, I mean, fed into the people's like lack of knowledge at the time for the actual Salem witch trials too, because you know, you didn't have the internet, you didn't have stuff like that. It's like, you know, it's like I saw a meme online that, you know, it's like, did you just not know anything before the internet? And it's like, yeah, your aunt would tell you something and you'd believe it was true for 20 years until the internet came along and you find out it wasn't.
No, totally. It was my neighbor across the street. His mom told him, and then he told my older brother, and my older brother told me that they actually sell those hoverboards from Back to the Future 2, and like, but you can only get them in the back area of Kmart. They don't sell them up front. You have to. I believed it for like 2 years.
Yeah, I mean, there were things like, you know, less like that, but like even just things like, you know, somebody would tell you, oh, you know, so and so's mom wrote that song. And you'd believe it forever, and then you'd find out years later that no, that's the other thing happened. This time I was a sophomore in high school, so I had no excuse this time. The other time I was like 6 or 7, fine, whatever. No, this time was all me. Where I had this friend in one of my classes, and she knew I was like really into like rock, especially like the older stuff like Led Zeppelin, Black Sabbath, and she told me for like 2 straight years like that her mom was the woman on the cover of the first Black Sabbath record. I believed her for like 3 straight years. Until a couple of years ago, I just decided to look it up. It was like, no, it's just some random person, like some model or some actress at the time was not this girl's mom. Like, it's like, I remember back, you know, before the internet, I know we're totally off topic, but you know the song, there's a song Drift Away, that was like Dobie Gray made famous, and it goes like, give me the beat, boys, to free my soul.
Oh, yeah.
I want to get... Yeah, anyways, my mom's friend was completely convinced that it said, give me the Beach Boys to free my soul.
Oh,
and I was like, no, it's not. I had to go to the library, find a songbook with the lyrics, and print and make a copy of it to bring it to my mom's friend to show her that she was wrong. Because my mom and her were getting in this argument about it.
It's funny, it's turned into an actual argument. Well, think about it. It makes no sense. Why would the Beach Boys give you back your soul? like you must really love the Beach Boys. If that's what it gets bring back his soul is the Beach Boys, man. I don't know.
Yeah. But anyways, so
I'm sorry, guys.
Yeah. So Serena gives at that's one point you know, finds out that Serena is a reincarnation of Modesty Miller, witch born in 1636. No, she's an incarnation of Louise's of Modesty Miller. I don't know if Modesty Miller was a real one, but I think the name that Serena was a reincarnation of is actually one of the real witches from Salem, but I'm not sure if Modesty Miller was. Yeah.
So sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. So she gets her powers from her father's side of the family then, because Miller. Usually the wife takes the husband's name, especially back in the 80s. So she doesn't even get it from her mother's side, which is usually what they would say for these kind of movies. No, she get this from her father's side.
Yep.
Okay.
Her father.
All right, fine. I mean, whatever.
Her father, who was played by the guy who played the mortal husband to a witch in a TV series.
Maybe that's why they did it. Maybe it was like a way of like a little, hey, what they call them, Easter egg or whatever. Yeah.
So basically, Serena gives Louise a book of magic spells to study and learn, and so she, and harness her powers and whatnot. So she tries to cast so she can not like, I don't know, it's like to harness it by calling the wind and rain, and she's trying to cast a love spell for Brad to fall in love with her. First she at one point turns her brother into a dog.
That was so weird.
Yeah,
because her brother's like this weird kid who's like weirdly obsessed with food, but like really sloppy at the same time.
And I don't
really
like to comment on people's looks, but his haircut was weird.
He looked weird, especially because he always had like tomato sauce all over his face.
Yeah,
I don't know. Like I don't know what they were trying to go with.
Yeah, I don't know what they were going for here.
I understand some kids can be sloppy when they eat.
I mean,
like,
I understand the younger brother who's like a pest or whatever, but this was just really weird. Beyond that, it was like beyond the I don't know, like Ben Seaver on Growing Pains sort of thing. It was beyond that.
Yes, way beyond Ben. Yes,
yeah.
We had a conversation about him.
He has his own issues. So basically, she's trying to, make Brad fall in love with her and stuff. And so basically at one point she decides that she doesn't want to, use her spells on Brad to make him fall in love. She wants him to fall in love with her for who she is, basically. But she realizes that Brad is only with, his girlfriend Randa because she's the most popular girl in school. So she finds out from Serena that, the way to make her the most popular girl in school, and she shows her a picture of her favorite pop star Shayna or whatever it is, for inspiration. And so she makes a potion, but to complete the spell she needs an item belonging to the singer. And so then Louise uses her powers to go backstage during the show, and and goes up on stage, and Shanna just gives her like favorite jacket, and
like her friend Holly never even sees anything. I mean, like, she's amazed by this, but like, at what point do you start asking questions?
Yeah,
like,
I mean,
if being suspicious about something, like,
if like you and I were like just hanging out, and all of a sudden you're like, I know Olivia Rodrigo, I would be like, really? We've known each other for years.
Shows up and it's like, hey, Dad, do you want to be on my next song? Oh, sure. It's like, what the fuck? Like, no.
Yeah.
I really like the song "Bad Idea," right? Though. It's such a great
me
song.
too. But
it's such a good.
She was just the first pop star that came into my head, so I was just like, but should have been like Taylor Swift maybe. But
whatever.
Yeah. But so she has to get this jacket, and it's so weird. She has that. Before that though, she did use her powers to help Polly out, because to gain courage to rap the best rap I've ever heard in my life, called Top That. It's just so great. I don't want to get copyright stricken, so we're not going to play it, but if I recommend looking it up. I'm sure it's on YouTube. So
I'm sure it is. Yeah, I'm sure it is.
Because Polly kind of has a thing for this guy Rhet, who is like the leader of this, gang of white boy rappers.
We just hang out and just start going into like break out into song like in the middle of the street.
They're like the like least rap like guys ever, but they're somehow like.
But they're like doing like breakdancing moves and like and all this shit. Yeah,
it's like
Rhet, name.
Yeah, his name is Rhet. Yeah. So. Yeah, but that was my favorite part of the whole movie. Many people's favorite part of the whole movie.
Cool, man. She went up and just like she totally beat him at his game, which that's what you really want to do when you want someone to like you, is to beat them at their own game and then walk away from them.
I mean, it was totally just like a scene out of 8 Mile. It was
yeah, 8 Mile. Yeah, 8 Mile's got nothing on Teen Witch. Oh god.
So
I'm getting something. No, what else? Oh, sorry. The dance where she went on like this guy's cousin or something like that.
Oh yeah,
Buddy Holly looking dude.
This nerdy guy who like wanted to try to be all over her and stuff like that. And so here's my question about that. She goes to the dance with this like nerdy guy who's somebody's cousin, and I think it was Randa's cousin or something.
Yeah, I think so.
Anyways, she She makes him disappear while they're driving because she just wishes she could be alone. We never see the guy again.
No, for all we know, he could be in like this weird netherworld, like where the upside down is with Vecna or some shit. Like,
I was just worried. Like I was just hoping he would come back because, I mean, even though he was a kind of creepy, nerdy guy, but I'm just like, did she just kill him? Like,
this movie is real interesting because I think accidentally, mind you, breaks stereotypes in such weird ways. So, like, again, they're like her and Holly are quote unquote like nerds, but they're like
it's Polly. It's Polly with a P.
Yeah.
Polly,
and then what's that?
It's Polly with a P.
Oh, Polly. I keep calling her Holly. Sorry. Yeah, Polly. I don't know what. Sorry. And then I kept calling her Holly. And then she and so this nerd dude. He looks like he's trying to look like Buddy Holly or something like that.
Yeah.
Love dumb shit. He's supposed to be a nerd and stuff, but at the same time, he's like acting like super confident in him. So he's almost like he's a narcissist where he just doesn't realize that like people don't like. One time he was like belching right before she opened the door in his face, and at one point he's like, "Do you want to go smoke some weed?" Like nerds usually weren't like the weed type. You know what I mean? So. I don't know.
He would totally, in reality, in our modern society, he would totally be running for Congress or something.
Oh, I'm sure of it. Yeah. And, like that would be his campaign ads. You want to go outside and smoke some weed? Libertarian Party or something like that.
Yeah, or he'd be totally against the weed, but doing it on the side, and then talk about taking away women's rights, but being pro women's rights, and then pawing women on the side. Anyway, so so.
But yeah, he's gone. He never shows up again.
Yeah, I'm just like,
for all we know, he's dead.
So my question though is Louise a murderer? That's what I'm trying to figure out.
I mean, she's a juvenile murderer, so maybe they maybe get at least harsh sentence.
Yeah,
from it, She's got probable cause too if she can prove that. Well, then again, it's the '80s. Even now, it's hard to prove stuff. But back then, they probably would have said, "Oh no, it's led him on" or something like that.
It's hard to prove a murder without the body. I think there's a whole other movie that's just basically a bunch of people trying to find this dude.
Like Randa. I mean, Randa was like a super popular girl, but at the same time, she probably has a heart, and it's like, oh my god, my cousin's disappeared. Like,
there's this whole portion of the movie missing where it was just like a manhunt trying to find this guy, and I mean, not a manhunt, but like they're doing a search and rescue and trying to figure out where the guy went.
I mean, there's no DNA, there's no bodies, no clothing, no items that. I guess there was DNA though. If he was trying to grab onto her, maybe they could do like a swipe on their shoulder. Back then, they don't think they had that kind of technology. Whatever. Yeah, he's basically dead. Who cares? Like, I mean, that's what we got going on.
So anyways, back to the other parts of the movie then. Okay, so at one point, she's making all these wishes too. At one point, she actually ends up trying to wish somebody to break a leg, and they actually break a leg. So then she ends up being cast as the lead in the thing, and she starts, being like kind of a popular girl and forgetting Polly, like you do.
Right.
So she starts dating Brad, and then there's like a scene where they basically, I think, have sex or make out or something.
That was the implication. I mean, obviously they didn't show it, but it was, that's what they were. Oh. That's what they were basically saying that they were doing. It was more than just a makeout sesh for sure. So again, character 16 years old, actor 17 years old, actor
25
years old. So it's like Cody Co. No, sorry, that's me. And
but so then
some YouTube guy.
Yeah. Oh, I know. Yeah. So so basically she becomes popular, and then that's what attracted him. So basically then Brad, after they had their romantic interlude, physical interlude, which may be sexual assault on a man, because if it was all because of magic that she ended up having this,
right.
Yeah, I'm just saying.
No, totally. It's a spell. Yeah.
But at the end of the movie, I guess it kind of negates it. So anyway, so the
it's a movie.
So she's like, everybody starts dressing like her and acting like her and everything. So Brad eventually asks her to a dance. She says she doesn't want to go because she's, like in a really weird scene like that kind of like throws Brad off. And then she ends up going to the dance later because she just realizes she wants to get rid of all of her powers, and make everything go back to the way it was.
Right.
So she goes to the dance with Serena.
Yep.
And Serena's like, at one point telling her, the real magic is believing in yourself.
Why didn't she tell her that from the beginning then?
Yeah.
Oh, I know why. We forgot to tell this part. It's because basically this entire time she's been using Louise as her cash cow. Literally. Yeah. Almost.
Exactly. It's
we forgot about that part.
We got this whole, it's like this in a lot of movies. It's like even The Wizard of Oz. It's like, all you had to do was click your heels and say, there's no place like home to get home. It's like, why didn't somebody fucking tell you this at the beginning?
Right.
But then we wouldn't have the movie. That was basically a veil of trying to criticize capitalism anyway. So we're gonna,
yeah.
Anyways, she's at the dance with Serena, and she commits to being her true self and gives the amulet to Serena. And then upon seeing Louise, Brad crosses the dance floor to be with her. He and Louise dance together and kiss, basically showing that he really likes her. There was no real I don't know, what do you call it? Shit, I've just blanked on the word. Conclusion or explanation or to what happened between her and Polly.
Well, didn't they kind of make up?
I don't know, kind of, but not really. It wasn't like a real, major one. And but she, Polly does get her boy though. She starts dancing with Rhet at the dance and stuff. So.
Oh right, maybe that was her way of.
Yeah, but it just doesn't seem like their relationship ever got back to normal. So.
Well, they did in part 2, but then they never made it. So
yeah,
that was part 2 called what was the cousin's name? I forgot his name.
I don't know. It's like Where the Fuck Is So and So is the name of the movie.
Yeah, so that whole that movie is where they're just on a search and rescue the entire time. And her and Polly reignite their friendship trying to look for this guy.
Yeah, but that's how it ends basically. So yeah.
Yeah. Yep. That's it. That's
So, do you want to know some little trivia about this movie?
Sure.
Okay, so it was originally pitched as a female version of Teen Wolf.
Okay.
So it was going to be a gender swapped, but it eventually morphed into Teen Witch. So yeah.
That's better anyway.
Like we said before, it was a box office bomb. It only made like 25 million at the box office, or 27 million at the box office.
27,000.
Yeah, 27,000. I'm sorry, but it was made for 25 million. Or not 25 million, 2.5 million. I can't speak. Sorry, folks. Anyway, so it also is a random musical.
That's right. Yeah, it does go into song here and there.
Yeah, like randomly. It's so weird. There is a musical based on the movie.
No. What?
Yeah, I mean, Teen Witch the musical is a live version.
Oh.
The Groundlings have kind of put together that and stuff like that. So yeah. What else here? We got Dick Sargent was in Bewitched. That's another one.
Right.
Mandy Ingber, who played Polly, she counts this as one of her worst summer jobs. She in a 2013 interview with Diet Detective, actress turned yogi, because she's like a yoga instructor and stuff.
Okay.
She recalled that the most noteworthy bad summer job was the summer I did Teen Witch. It haunts me as the rap I did for this 80s movie lives on through the internet. I think that's the best of the worst. So she's just saying that. She basically was just saying bad summer jobs, but she's not saying it's bad necessarily,
Oh, I see. I get you saying.
Yeah.
But I forgot to mention. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
All right. I forgot to mention though. So another case of like disallowing someone to have their own bodily autonomy is when she decides to make a voodoo doll of her teacher.
Oh yeah,
who's the one in on her? Because he was doing bad shit. At one point, he went through her birth control tablets. Like what? Like weird. And she's like, "I'm warning you." And he's like, "Oh, what are you gonna do?" So she goes, makes a voodoo doll, makes him strip in the classroom.
Yeah.
To the point where he almost exposes himself to a room full of minor teenagers. And they're all laughing for some reason. I mean, I guess some people would laugh in that situation, but the entire class laughing. I'm pretty sure there'd be a few mortified faces here and there, but no, not in this school.
Not in the 80s.
No, and then just of course, right at the nick of time, no, pun intended, because he was
like the principal or somebody walks in. It's just like, what?
Yeah, and it's like, what are you doing? And then like, of course, 80s, they don't even blame him for it. They just think he had like a mental breakdown. I'm like, oh, so he was about to literally expose himself, which is a sexual felony. I think so. I mean, I don't know. And then you're like, oh no, it's fine. He just had a mental. Don't worry about it, guys. We'll. But then not only that, she leaves the doll at home. Fine, she got her revenge. But then her mom picks up the doll, and then the guy falls down the stairs, potentially just hurting himself, breaking his tailbone. Maybe perhaps his hip, and we're talking about an elder aged man here. This is not something you just heal quickly from. I mean, this is going to be pretty serious injury. And then he just wanders aimlessly into a car wash, which again can be pretty dangerous if you're not in the car having those things flapping around real fast. I mean, at the very least, he gets some abrasions, maybe some bruises on his face. Then he just walks right through, and he gives the guy a tip for letting him walk through his car wash, I guess. I don't know. And then that's all we hear. So he's also someone who disappears. We don't know what happens to him afterwards.
Huh.
So maybe he's with the cousin guy,
Yeah.
doing weird, I don't know, whatever, smoking weed.
So,
I'm not sure.
So another trivia here. So Dan Gauthier and Gauthier. I don't know how to pronounce his name. I'm just going to say Dan. He ended up marrying Lisa Fuller, who played Randa.
Okay,
and they're still together to this day.
All right.
So they dated while making the movie and got married shortly after the movie.
Oh, okay.
Robyn Lively admitted to harboring a major crush on him. She says she was heartbroken, but she still went to their wedding.
Oh,
yeah, that's kind of cool. Yeah. Joshua Miller, the actor who played the younger brother, in a 2013 interview with Vice, he said that a drag queen named Peaches Christ taught him to appreciate the film. So it took some time for him to understand the movie's appeal. It wasn't until years later, though, when a drag queen named Peaches Christ started hosting midnight screenings of Teen Witch in San Francisco that he began to appreciate it. He admitted, he said, he invited me to one, and prior to the screening, he sat me down and explained that as a teenager, he could see that I was not like the other boys, talking about him, that there was something sexually ambiguous about me that gave me a sense of comfort, especially in Teen Witch. That meant the world to me. So basically, so I'm not sure what Joshua Miller's sexual identity is, but still, it's interesting.
Okay.
So, yeah, so basically, this little part in this movie helped this drag queen to feel free to be who he or she is, So, yeah.
Yeah. Speaking of the guy who plays the brother, I forgot to mention, I'm sorry, all these other scenes now are finally popping up. There's this bizarre scene where he comes in to I forgot Louise's room dressed as a butler, and he's like giving her all this, and then he does this weird thing where he's like, I don't even know what he's doing with his face. Like, I had the liberty of ironing your homework, and he does this weird, like, I can't even explain what he does with his face. It's like bone chilling. It's so creepy looking.
Anyways, do you have any other final thoughts about this before we wrap things up?
No. I think all of them finally came flooding in.
Yeah, well, I hope
you
folks enjoyed this episode, even with our tangents. So be sure to do us a favor and check out our website. It's all2reeltoo.com. You can find links to all of our social media, all of the places you can listen to the show if you are unable to find somewhere to listen to the show, but I'm assuming you are because you're listening to it right now.
Yeah.
That's just my guess, but
I mean, that's true.
Also, there's links to our TeePublic and our Patreon. There's ways to help the show there. Just spread the word as well. Also do us a favor. We got a bunch of charities in the show notes for this episode. There's some very, very important ones, such as the Palestine Children's Relief Fund. I'm not sure if I'm saying that completely right, but I mean, in this time where people need a lot of help in the world, I recommend, if you have time, donate to those charities before you donate to us, but after that, donate to us. So, but more importantly, though, help out children and other people in the world. But yeah, that's about all I've got to say. And just remember that I love you. Sesame loves you. Remember that you can always top that. Free Palestine. Trans lives are human lives. And until next time, bye-bye!
Thanks for listening to All2ReelToo podcast, a Cullen Park production. Produced and edited by Michael E. Cullen II. Music by Matthew Hawes. Subscribe and share the show. Visit us at cullenpark.com.